Hey guys, in this video we'll see the decorator design pattern. So as per the definition of it, it comes under the structural design pattern of gang of four design patterns. It is used to add the additional functionality to existing object dynamically without changing its original behavior. So what can be the scenario for this decorator pattern? Suppose if some XYZ application provides basic authentication with username and password, and later its product manager decides to have next level of authentication to add more security to its application. So in this next level or second level of authentication, user has to answer some questions to get authenticated. So such kind of use cases can be solved using decorator pattern. Now here I am saying user has to answer some questions. So depend on the requirement. So it may be user may be asked to enter his OTP which goes to his mobile or or email, or he may be asked to enter PAN card number or date of birth to get authenticated as its next level authentication. So nowadays this mechanism is very popular to add more security to its applications. So in this use case we are adding the additional functionality to existing object without changing its original behavior. So the original behavior of this object is to get authenticated user using his username and password. And in additional functionality, we are giving more security to the application by getting more information from user and validate that user information. So user can log into the applications, or user can check in, user can use that application. So this is one of the scenarios of this decorator pattern. Now let's see its UML diagram. Now in this diagram you can see I declare one interface called as authentication, where one method is declared called as authenticate user, which is of the type boolean, and then one class is defined called as basic user authentication, which implement this interface. And on this class there are two parameters, username and passwords, which are used to authenticate user. So again, this, as you can see, this method is there, authenticate user. So this is the existing implementation for the authentication mechanism. Now as I said, the program manager wants more security to the application. So here we are using a decorator pattern to achieve this. And we define one class called as authentication decorator class, which also implements the same interface called as authentication. Okay, and then we actually extend this class by the class called as next level user authentication, which defines some parameters, which is nothing but the information which user need to pass to get authenticated as a second level authentication. So here some parameters are defined called as param1, param2 and param3. So this can be a parameters, this can be any parameters depend on your requirement. Like as I said, some questions that user needs to answer, or PAN card number or date of birth or OTP or blah blah blah. Okay, so this is as per the requirement of an application. Now you can say the important part is here, this constructor. The constructor is next level user authentication constructor, which wraps the object, the basic user authentication object. Now we are wrapping the actual interface of this implementation, because we know when we wrap this implementation, any class which implements this interface can be passed here. Okay, so it gives us that flexibility. So we are talking to interface instead of talking to class directly. Okay, so this is about the UML diagram of this decorator pattern. Now we actually see its implementation in using C# code. So here I've written one C# program which actually implement this decorator pattern. Now here you can see this interface called as authentication interface, which declare one method called as authenticate user, and this is an existing implementation of authentication. So this class is there called as basic user authentication, which implements this authentication interface. And as for the UML diagram, it has two parameters called two properties, in fact, username and password, against which the user will be authenticated. So this is a simple implementation of your authentication. All right, then we have this decorator, which again implement the same interface called as authentication interface, and here it is abstract class, so doesn't need that implementation. So again, this method is declared here. Now this is actual implementation of this authentication decorator, and this class is called as next level user authentication. And here two properties are used to to get user authenticated. So I use some dummy parameters, school name and first boss, which and this is the kind of information which user needs to pass to get authenticated. So this is a constructor of this next layer user authentication, where this authentication object is used as a parameter. Okay. So this object is wrap, kind of wrap. You'll see that when we actually call this constructor. Okay. And this is a method which first authenticate the user using basic authentication, and then implement its own authentication mechanism, like validate against school name and first boss. Okay, so this is your next level or second level authentication mechanism. All right, now we actually say its call from your main method. So this is your basic user authentication class, which pass two parameters, and this is your basic user authentication or first level of authentication is there. Okay, this is your existing, consider this is your existing implementation. Now you are using decorator here. So this is your next level authentication, and here actually you can see this, we wrap this basic authentication object here. Okay, so we are decorating this basic user authentication using additional authentication, which is we call as next level authentication. Okay, and for that we are passing these two parameters. So this is your next layer authentication, which again called authenticate user method, and we are just showing the message that first level and or basic user authentication success and next level authentication success. So this is a kind of arrangement you have to make to to use this decorator pattern. So this is just a sample, and as per your requirement, you can again go for the third layer authentication, where you can actually get the OTP from user and you can wrap that object. Okay, in that case, this object will be wrapped in your for your OTP kind of authentication. So this can goes on and on. Okay, so I just try to explain the basics of this authentication. Now we run this program and see its output. So I can directly run this program because it's pretty simple. This is, or if you want to debug, I can debug from here, so we can understand it more. All right, so you can see this object, basic authentication object, which was wrapped under the next level user authentication object, is passed here, and it is assigned to this authentication object. All right, and we set those two properties called as first boss and school name here, and then we call this next level user authentication authenticate user. So it first authenticates your first level authentication or basic authentication, and then actually authenticate user using its second level authentication. Okay, so see, so we can get the output called as basic user authentication and next level authentication success. So as I said, this list can goes on and on. You can add one more level authentication to here, and you can go to the next level again. Okay. So guys, hope you like this video. Please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.